everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from cold but lovely Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
And coming up today, we're basically continuing conversations that have been started.
Yeah, we just had a lot of feedback.
Yeah, so we're responding to email.
We're going to respond to your responses in the latter part of the show, because there's some good...
There's good responses. There's stuff to talk about.
There's a lot of good stuff to talk about.
And so we thought that, we've done this before. Well, we'll just take a minute. We had a conversation that got a lot of response.
Yeah.
So, let's... that's what we're going to do.
We're gonna revisit some issues
Absolutely.
in good, fun, positive ways. But before we do that, we'll tell you some stories. Do you want to go?
Sure, yeah.
All right, go.
All right. Do you watch... I know you watch Fox News a lot, right?
Oh, I'm an avid... basically, it's all my TV is sort of set permanently
Yeah.
to the Fox News.
Yeah. Well, I gave up on GMA, Good Morning America, years ago.
Right. Well, one would.
And just watch that nice, lovely Fox and Friends.
Oh, Fox and Friends. Which is like so weird. They're making apparently their network one of the characters in the show, I guess, in the title.
Yeah.
Like, hey, look, it's our network and it's Friends.
I was hoping for the longest time that one of them actually had the last name Fox.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, oh, it's on Fox.
No.
But no, it was nothing. Nothing so good.
No.
Nothing so thought through.
No.
I know that we expect so much from Fox and Friends. From Steve Doocy and Elizabeth Hasselbeck, right? Hasselbeck. Doocy. What a deuce.
Anyway, so why are we talking about these people?
Well, they were responding. I guess there's been a phenomenon that has happened. Something that's being probably hashtagged would be my guess. Prayer shaming.
Ah, yes.
You've heard about this?
Yes.
This, yeah.
It's an interesting thing that's happening, actually.
Yeah. Well, and it's all based on this thing of like, well, don't just pray, do something about it.
Right.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, so anyway, on Fox and Friends, Doocy decided that he needed to respond to the cover of the Daily News.
New York Daily News.
Which, did you see this, Dan?
This is in reference to the mass shooting at San Bernardino.
Exactly, yeah. So it's the Daily News. It says 14 dead in California mass shooting. And then in huge letters...
right in the middle of the page.
It says, God isn't fixing this.
Right.
And surrounding that, they have tweets from Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, and Paul Ryan, who all are talking about, our prayers are with the victims,
right,
says Ted Cruz.
Yep.
Lindsey Graham says thoughts and prayers are with #San Bernardino, and so forth and so on. That's kind of and it's like it's just so trite,
right?
And it's just what you have to say, I guess.
It's look. Who was it? There was a comedian that had a great set about this sort of thing, which is like saying my thoughts and prayers are with X is the equivalent of saying. I mean, his thing was like it's the equivalent of I refuse. I'm not going to do anything, but I want to seem like I'm doing something. So,
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, it's basically that.
Exactly that.
It's. I want to. And it's also like I want to prove how Christian-y I am, and at the same time, not do anything.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not be tied down to any actual thing.
Well. Fox and Friends, surprise, surprise, Doocy, was having none of it.
Oh, no, of course not.
This whole prayer shaming nonsense, he does not like it at all.
Well, okay, so what does he have to say?
So he says, if God won't fix this, wait. Steve Doocy had a copy of it. Yeah. If God won't fix this, we need more gun laws. And I guess Carly Fiorina was on.
Yeah.
And she says, it's stunning to me. This is an example of how afraid the left wing is of our values.
We're afraid of your values?
Your values of guns. We love guns.
Well, and your values of thinking and praying instead of doing.
Right, exactly.
The value of God fixing things, meaning don't do anything.
Right. And so Ducey continues, and he just keeps holding it up, I guess. And he says, on the cover of the Daily News, they have politicized this already. Hey, Republicans, they're saying, God isn't fixing this, as the latest batch of innocent Americans are left dying in pools of blood. Cowards. Who do they picture right here? Rand Paul, Paul Ryan, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, all Republicans. Or, quote, cowards who could truly end gun scourge, but continue to hide behind meaningless platitudes. And then Hasselbeck chimes in and says, I was so disturbed by that cover. When you see tweets like Chris Murphy out of Connecticut saying your thoughts should be about steps to take to stop this carnage, your prayers should be for forgiveness if you do nothing again. And then a tweet from the editor of Think Progress, Zach Ford, saying, try this, stop thinking, stop praying, look up Einstein's theory of insanity, or definition of insanity.
Right.
Okay. And they just are just so like missing it.
Right. Well, I love that she quote that tweet from that congressperson. I don't remember what the name of the congressperson was. I saw that came up on my Facebook feed, and it's brilliant. Yeah, if you want to think and pray, actually think about a way that you can solve this, and
right.
then yes, and pray for forgiveness if you do nothing.
Yeah, and so they continue on, and they end up saying that if you that you basically these folks who are doing the prayer shaming,
yeah,
right, are lining up with terrorists.
Oh, okay.
That's the punchline right there.
Of course, they're aligning with terrorists. Terrorists, you know what the terrorists want is for you not to believe in God.
I think that was in here. These godless terrorists. I think if that was this article or another one that I read, but they,
yeah, that's just crazy.
Just terrorists.
We're all
terrorists.
All of
godless terrorists.
Just like all the terrorists, all of the Muslim terrorists who are those godless heathens.
Atheists have so much in common with religious terrorists.
I'm going to let that be a segue.
Okay.
Because
right,
it's a little abrupt, but I'm gonna launch from that.
Okay.
My first story comes to us Dateline, Idaho, Moscow, Idaho. Or maybe Pullman, Washington, somewhere in that area.
Oh,
very similar area, like near each other.
The twin cities of
Moscow and Pullman. Sure, as we all hear about them.
Oh yeah,
every time, boy, Moscow. You hear Pullman roll off somebody's tongue. Moscow's not far behind.
Absolutely.
Anyway, up there to the north, there's a humanist. They call a group called the Humanists of Palouse, which serves both Moscow, Idaho, and Pullman, Washington. The group became aware of some online threats that were directed toward a local mosque. So apparently, they actually do have some Muslims up in Idaho / Washington. The Pullman Islamic Center has been a part of the Palouse community for a long time.
Okay.
And apparently they were getting some... you'll be shocked to learn that in rural Idaho and Washington, people were mean to Muslims.
What?
I know.
That's
a shocking revelation. Anyway, these humanists were great. They sent the Muslim group a letter that said, in part, we fully support your right to practice religion free of harm and harassment. If you feel threatened, please do not hesitate to contact us. We would be happy to accompany anyone who feels their safety is at risk, e.g. grocery shopping, on a walk around town, or just someone to talk to. If we can advocate for you in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, and know that you have friends and allies amongst the humanists of the Palouse.
What? That's awesome.
I think that's exactly the right response.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
It was so. I just wanted to bring that up because we talk about a lot of negative stuff, and that's exactly what needs to be happening in the world. Because the thing is that, like, atheists, humanists, people of non-belief are so easily painted as, you know, anti-religion, and we may be. I wish the world had no religion in it,
Sure.
but that doesn't mean that I'm like. That I don't think that this is right. Like, it's right. We live in a pluralistic society that should be embracing all people.
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't want. I mean, you don't want people in your community to feel threatened or unsafe.
No.
I mean, that's just wrong, right?
Correct.
So that's quite lovely,
Right. And demonizing a group because of their religious beliefs.
Yeah.
I mean, for the love of God, we of all people should know not to demonize a group because of their belief system. I mean, we are demonized more than any problem. Well, no, I would say Muslims are demonized as much as atheists are.
Right.
Anyway,
So there are brothers in demonization.
they are.
Is that-
They are. Which is what makes me so happy about this. But I mean, we should be. I would gladly stand up for any group that was actually being persecuted. Obviously, Christians don't qualify because they're not actually being persecuted. They just
Depends on the part of the world.
in the United States.
Thank you.
I would
They're
say
not.
I would say no. I'm not going to
Not at
stand
all.
up for you because what you really are trying to protect is not your religious freedom, but rather your freedom to
privilege.
Your privilege.
Yeah.
They got a nice note back from the Islamic Center.
Oh. Does this story turn bad?
It doesn't.
Okay.
Here's what it said. We have noticed that the correct way to define and appreciate humanist groups in general, and yours in particular, is as lovers and defenders of civil rights. Individual and group democratic dignities and freedom of thought, not as haters of religion. Your group's neighborly defense of freedom of religion in the Palouse demonstrates your focus on freedom and social justice. We are impressed by and thankful for your firm support and offer of assistance and solidarity.
Fantastic.
Everything went correctly. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to put... it's one of those moments... It's so easy. Like, when you do news stories... And this happened. This is one of the big problems with the news, right? You get bad news. That's all you get. Because that's news. Good news isn't news. But this, I kept reading this, waiting for the other shoe to drop, and was just like,
I was worried.
it just went well. Everything went well.
Yeah.
Everybody got along, and everybody made exactly the right statement.
Huh.
So,
Lovely.
yeah. If you are part of a
We should go
humanist
check
group
out
or
the Twin
whatever-
Cities.
I've been to Moscow, Idaho.
Have you?
Uh-huh.
Huh. How is it?
It's adorable.
Adorable?
Yeah. You go up there, you go to Jack's Cafe. They got all the
Where is Moscow? It's way up there, right?
oh wait, am I thinking of Paris, Idaho? I might be thinking of Paris. You know, all of those major cities. Moscow.
There's also a Paris, Idaho.
There is a Paris,
that is
Idaho.
fantastic.
Oh, whoops! If you just type
there a London?
Moscow, you get the wrong one.
Oh, that's probably true.
Moscow, Idaho.
London, Idaho.
I don't think that there's a London, but there might be.
Berlin, Idaho.
I'm sure that there's a exactly. Oh no, Moscow's right on. I mean, as you would imagine from my story, it's right on the border with. But yeah, it's a ways up there. I was thinking of Paris, Idaho. No, yeah, I don't know.
Tokyo, Idaho. Were you thinking of Tokyo?
Right. Yes. So
Bangkok, Idaho. They just have all.
Delhi,
all of them.
Idaho.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel. Yeah. All right. Well, good.
There you
Good.
go.
Good on them.
Yep. Good job.
All right. Where was I? Oh, I got a story for you, Dan.
Good. Tell it to me.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh. Ladies and gentlemen, he just sighed going in. We're in trouble.
So are you familiar with how refugee resettlement works in the United States, Dan?
Yes, they are all given yachts and mansions, and we have to pay extra taxes because of it. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, you nailed it. So the way that from my understanding that this whole thing works is that there are multiple resettlement cities sort of scattered about the United States, usually mid-sized cities, right, that have built up a little bit of, I guess, they have the right sort of infrastructure in place now to handle refugees as they come into the country.
Sure.
So the United States grants them refugee status, and then they're assigned to one of these cities, or maybe they're allowed to choose. I'm not clear on that. But they wind up dealing with these entities that have sprung up that help them get housing and help them sort of settle in, and provide services in general and educational services and blah, 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 right? And by and large, these are often faith-based or agencies.
Sure.
Right? There's some church in a community that will run one of these services and
teach you how to be American.
Absolutely, super important. Well, one of the things that the federal government does is they grant a zero interest loan to the refugees as they come in, as they are arriving on our soil, to pay for their transportation expenses in getting here.
Okay.
So a family may have a few $1,000s, maybe $6,000-$7,000 in debt
upon arrival.
Got it. And these agencies work as debt collectors. In addition to providing services, they also are the debt collectors.
Okay.
Now, they're kind debt collectors. These are zero interest loans.
We hope.
And they don't typically have I don't think they really even have penalties for late payment and that kind of stuff. But it's something you're supposed to pay back.
Right.
Right. And they are allowed to keep the same percentage as their rate for these services.
Sure.
They get the same market rate as private sector debt collectors, which is 25% of any money that they recoup for the government.
25%?
25%.
Holy crap.
And so this actually starts to add up.
Uh-huh.
And so when you start hearing, there was some big Lutheran organization that's taken a stand saying, we need to up the number of refugees that are coming in, of Syrian refugees, from 10,000 to 100,000.
They have a financial incentive to get more refugees in here.
There is a conflict of interest.
I love it. Oh my God, that's amazing.
And whether, it's hard to place what people, or speculate truly about what people's, motives are a lot of times. But this has been set up in such a way where they have a real interest in it. Well, as you go through it, apparently, once they collect this money, it doesn't have to stay within the walls of the agency. It can go into the church's general coffers.
Right.
And they don't have to report on it.
Oh, right. Exactly. Of course they don't. And they don't have to say anything.
Right. And so people are starting to kind of sit up and take notice and they some of these organizations, they've said some things that make you go, ooh. One of them, such as, who's this guy? Kurt Barnes? Yes, Kurt Barnes, who is the CFO at the Episcopal Church Treasurer or something or other.
Yeah.
He says, this is his quote, "Some people say, oh, you're in the collections business. Yes, but we also prefer to say that we are in the business of providing credit history for new citizens or future citizens. Isn't that the slimiest thing? Like he's totally like trying to pivot the story to this other thing, and it's like, no. One person in response to that, who's the Wally Seward, who's the director of the Center for Ethics and Public Life at the University of Missouri St. Louis, says, you could help refugees build up a credit history, but only take 5% off the top.
Right.
As a fee for you collecting the loan. Yeah. Like, if that's what you're really doing, you clearly like the money.
So what this is, so actually, let me see if I've got this straight. Because, so what's happening is, the U.S. is paying for them to come to our country.
Yes.
Off the bat.
Yes.
And then saying, but you have to pay me back.
Yes.
For that.
And the government's fine, only getting 75% of the money back.
Right. Then, the U.S. gets which means that taxpayers have foot that extra 25% bill.
Yes.
Plus, so taxpayer money is being funneled directly to churches.
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome.
The let's see, what group is this? The Migration and Refugee Services at the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops brought in, through their collection fees, $3.4 million.
Holy shit.
In 2014. And
then again, you know what? If this is actually paying for real services for these refugees,
then
I'm not going to begrudge it.
It is a real service, and it's a really... I mean, if there is something about making them pay it back that's a little... I mean, I get it.
It's a little weird. Like, welcome to the United States. Ain't nothing for free.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the deal.
And
but it's
kind of also like, get used to debt.
Yeah, right.
Also, welcome to a lot of it.
Also, welcome to the United States. Yeah. I do think I like the fact that because, like you said, these groups are also providing many other services.
They are. And that's where this gets a little tricky, because you don't want to demonize them entirely, but there's this weird thing going on.
But if that's how it's getting paid for, I'm actually fine with that.
What if that money, though, makes it back into the general coffers, though? We're talking about a lot of money. Even a small organization would be able to bring in a chunk of change.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I just, you know what? I don't know how all the financials of this work. I'm just glad that these people are getting services.
I'm really glad. And you know what?
I don't think it needs to be a faith-based organization. I think it'd be better if it weren't.
Oh, absolutely. I actually agree with the Lutheran organization. 10,000 Syrian refugees is not enough.
No, it's not.
These people need help.
Right.
And this nation is continually in a position where we can help.
In a fantastic position to help.
So yeah. I agree. It should be 100,000.
Yeah. So there you go. Who knows what the correct position is on this, but that is an interesting racket that they're running.
Isn't it, though? Like, it's more sort of the question of...
And the fact that we can't peer into their books, the fact that they are... Because a nonprofit organization is, in fact, a public trust.
Yeah.
And and any other nonprofit organization, any charity, anything like that, we get to look at their books and we get to know how they're spending their money and stuff.
Very much so, in fact.
But not a church. And that's where I object. That's where I object to this. It should not be. It shouldn't. It should have. I mean, if it's run by a religious group, that's fine, but it should be its own organization that does not get to keep its books closed.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Anyway. Well, but the church also should not be able to keep its books closed.
Yeah, but that's
the bigger
that's
issue
asking
here.
a much larger thing.
Right.
Anyway, I'm gonna have a political thing here. Have you ever heard of this guy Donald Trump? You ever heard of that guy?
I feel like he's
been in the news.
A building once.
Yes,
with that last name.
I'm not talking about the building. There is a man. There are several buildings with that name, but there is a man also with that name who's trying to ruin our country and embarrass us internationally, and doing a fantastic job of both.
Yeah.
Anyway, he recently went. You're going to see where I'm going pretty quickly on this. He recently gave a speech to a group called the Republican Jewish Coalition Forum.
Okay. Well, because he's running for president.
He's running for president, and he talks to a lot of different forums.
Yeah, that's what he does.
He recently Did you see that? Like a whole bunch of black pastors. He was going to speak to them, and then like his campaign announced beforehand that they were going to walk away with a whole bunch of support from black pastors in the U.S. And the pastors were like, "Oh, okay, never mind. We're not coming. We're going to cancel this. If you're already announcing our support, nope, we're not doing it." The Jews were not quite so. They welcomed him. He came and spoke. You know that impulse that you have when you're in a group of people who have something that binds them together and you're not really part of that group to try and sort of fit in? You know that impulse?
Yeah.
I feel that when I'm in a group. He may have not really understood what that should mean for him.
Okay.
I'll just read a couple quotes real quick from this thing. He claimed that he was a negotiator like you folks.
Oh, good.
He said, oh
no.
He just kept, he said, "Is there anyone in this room who doesn't negotiate deals?" He said, "Probably that more than any room I've ever spoken in."
Oh, no.
He continued with the Jewish stereotypes. "We're all good with contracts," he said. Contrasting him and his audience with the Obama administration. He said, "I think you as business people will feel pretty good about it." He was talking about the fact that he was spending fairly little on his campaign. And he said, "I think you as business people will feel pretty good about this and respect it. That I'm cheap." I mean, the fact that he didn't put on like a prosthetic crook nose, I feel like was a big miss for him. He basically went in there and was like, "I know about you people." Oh my God. Yeah. Look. Yeah. He said, "Look, I'm a negotiator like you folks." I think that's so amazing. He kept saying that shit.
Oh, what was the room doing? Shifting nervously in their seats?
I feel like they were writing checks to his opponents is what they were doing. He actually said, he basically said he understood that he was not going to get their votes. He said, "I don't want your money, so therefore you're probably not going to support me. You want to control your own politician."
Oh. Why was he there? Just to offend them?
Why was he there? It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
He was there to make yet another bit of hay for the media.
Yeah.
So that they keep... I mean, that's his whole campaign is being run on him.
And is he really
being Donald Trump?
And what's brilliant about him is...
being a good candidate for the presidency. He's just running to be Donald Trump.
Yeah,
that's all he's doing.
running for the office of Donald Trump.
Yeah, and he's already got it, so he needs to sit down.
Well, I think apparently he thinks he's up for re-election as Donald Trump.
Actually, he's always up for re-election because he's a media whore.
He's well, what's amazing about him is that obviously, from the quotes that I just gave you, he doesn't like follow any script. He doesn't let anyone tell him how to talk. And I think by this point, his team probably just doesn't want him to because they see that whatever the fuck he does just works.
In the weirdest way imaginable.
In the wrongest, most horrible way possible. It just kind of works. And then I mean, it's not like... Here's the thing.
Script for a bad movie.
Does he think? I mean, I certainly don't think he's going to lose any traction with his supporters by insulting Jews.
Yeah.
It seems to me that he'll do just fine with that, because as much as he's expected to support Israel by the Christians, he's not expected to support Jews. They they draw a nice line there where it's like, yes, we need you to support Israel, but only because when Jesus comes back, we get it.
Yeah.
And then we get to kick out those nasty, filthy Jewy Jews.
Oh, Daniel.
Well, what's really funny is that I'm sure that he doesn't get that even if what he thinks he's saying is a positive attribute,
Yeah.
you can't stereotype people.
No.
Like, you can't just say, you are all good with money.
Right.
It sounds like a compliment, but it's actually just showing your bigotry.
I want him to speak like at some big LGBT
Oh, yeah.
thing. Because what would he come up with for that? You know, like...
It'd be amazing. Come on, log cabin Republicans, get on this. We need to hear what he says to the queers. We need to hear it. It's important to us. Did you know that his daughter Ivanka converted to Judaism?
No.
I had no idea.
No.
Apparently he made one joke that actually landed with people, which was something about her and not getting to see her on Saturdays or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But there you go. The rest of it is just like, even Ben Carson, who's kind of in the same boat where he just sort of spouts whatever he thinks is whatever's on his brain, regardless of how incredibly stupid it is.
Well, yeah. Have you seen him try to read a speech?
No, he never does it. But apparently he did on a Middle East politics.
Yeah, that's the one thing. And I was like, oh, he can't read.
Right, yeah.
So that's
right. Didn't he pronounce Hamas like hummus, basically?
He just kept. There were multiple different pronunciations of Hamas, which I found amazing because it doesn't seem like there should be that many possible pronunciations.
Well, also,
one of them does sound like hummus.
Also, it makes it clear this man doesn't actually watch or listen to the news.
No, because his foreign policy speech, he was just sitting there reading from the script. Right. Like it was so stilted, and he was looking down at the printed page and struggling with the pronunciations.
And the man already has
foreign words and names and whatnot.
He's already got that sort of speechy narcolepsy, whatever. I don't know what it is. Like, yeah, you make him read, it's going to be that much worse.
Yeah, it was just droning on. But anyway.
Okay. What's next?
All right. Also a Jewish story.
Oh, good.
So apparently, this is very interesting. This was unknown to me, Dan.
Okay.
Apparently, a lot of the vendors, the street vendors, selling souvenirs on the streets of Rome, are Jewish.
Oh.
In particular, in the street vendors around the Vatican. I guess back in the day, the Pope said, back in the 19th century, the Pope issued an edict that allowed Jews to sell rosaries to Catholic pilgrims.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. And since then, there's been this tradition of Roman Jewish families operating these little souvenir shops.
Okay.
And I know the ones that they're talking about. They're just little carts out on the street.
Yeah.
And anyway, the city is, because there's a Jubilee year coming up.
Oh, right.
Whatever
that ends up.
It's a holy year.
Yeah.
What?
It seems random, but I guess they've got a real reason why.
Every so often there's a Jubilee year.
Right.
And this one's it's a Jubilee. I don't know how they figure out all of that. But anyway.
So these guys are putting the Jew in Jubilee?
Oh, Dan. The city has decided to clean up the streets around St. Peter's.
Oh, no Jews in Jubilee.
So there are no Jews.
Oh.
They're kicking them out.
Oh.
But they're not kicking out just the Jewish, they're kicking out all the street vendors.
All the vendors, right.
They've also decided that they're going to bar the centurions who like to stand outside the Colosseum.
Oh, okay. The guys in the gladiator
costumes.
Get
these young guys, often young, attractive, hot Italian young men.
Yeah.
And they dress them up as Roman soldiers.
Yeah.
And then they pose for pictures with tourists.
Right.
For a fee.
Sure.
Right? It's a little entrepreneurial effort.
It's like the Elmo that hangs out in Times Square or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And so they've also decided to get rid of them. And so they're not just going after the Jewish vendors. However, the Jewish vendors are turning it into a Jewish issue.
Okay.
And they, at a protest, they have actually they've donned yellow stars of David.
Oh no!
But they're going for this like persecution angle.
Yeah, they are.
Like seriously.
Yeah.
And
they're losing their livelihood. I mean,
they are, and I don't think they are being relocated. The city has identified.
You know, after you put on the star, when you use the term relocated, that sounds pretty bad. It does sound pretty bad.
There might be some tone deafness from the city that they don't fully grasp what they're up to.
All right, all you guys, you ready to get on the train? No, this is bad.
No, they've have a little. They've identified a neighborhood.
Oh God.
That part I'm just making
right.
up.
Yeah, it's call it a ghetto. A ghetto.
It's the Ghetto Mall.
Yeah,
I think is what they're calling
it.
That's right.
We spell it totally differently. Don't worry, it's not the same.
Well, considering that ghetto is an Italian word.
Indeed, it is. That's true. All right. Well, there you go.
Not fun.
I mean, let's. It's a holy war surrounding who gets to sell shitty little knickknacks.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to move us on to Detroit, Michigan. Motown.
Lovely Detroit.
The Motor City.
Yeah. Famous for its motors.
Famous, indeed.
Yeah.
And for other things. But here's one thing that's interesting. So there will be well, I guess I'm actually moving us to Lansing, which is the capital, I believe, of the state. Is it not? Lansing, Michigan?
Fuck if I know.
Well, there's our geography lesson for the day. The main geography lesson is fuck if we know. So anyway, so on the state capitol lawn,
okay,
one Senator Tedrick Cruz.
Tedrick?
I'm going to call him Tedrick.
Why?
I don't know. Because I like adding syllables to people's names.
Oh, okay.
Teddy?
Oh, that. Okay.
Ted Cruz.
Okay.
Ted
Thank you.
Cruz.
Thank you.
You've heard of him.
Yeah, I thought that so you threw Tedrick, and that's all I heard. I was like, no.
Ted Cruz, his presidential campaign is planning a nativity scene.
Oh, God.
Apparently.
Pandering.
Right. Well, I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of his recent stuff. He also has some lawn signs that say, and some paraphernalia that says, one unplanned pregnancy changed the world.
Oh my God! But really, that's what you're banking on?
Yeah. He's connecting. Yeah. See, he's tying in all of the things.
I can't have an abortion because I might be about to give birth to the Messiah.
It might be Jesus.
It might be Jesus.
I can't abort. What if it's Jesus?
Also, the second coming.
Right. Of course, it's an easy argument to dispel by saying, well, it also could be Hitler.
Yeah.
So you can choose. Like
it is Russian roulette.
Maybe we should abort all the babies to avoid Hitler, rather than not aborting any of the babies and hoping for a Jesus.
That's a fantastic plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, his campaign is very excited about this nativity that they're going to put in Michigan. Mm-hmm. There has been a response. You'll never guess from who.
Who?
The Satanic Temple steps in, like the heroes that they are.
Okay.
Apparently, this is the second year that they have applied for a permit now to do their snaketivity, which is a snake. It's apparently like the image of a snake coiled around a satanic cross. I don't know. Is it
giving birth or is it newly born, newly hatched?
I don't think that it's actually a nativity. I think that they're just sort of playing off of that term.
I just imagined a nativity with all snakes reenacting, and I was like, I don't know how. It's a little offensive, I guess.
It's just crawling with. It's just like you've got Joseph Snake and Mary Snake,
like those horrifying, like. Yeah. Anyway.
No, I think it's literally just but they're doing what Satanic Temple does so well,
Right.
which is just horrifying imagery next to your Jesus.
Right.
So that's what they're doing. They have not yet apparently received their permit to do it.
Right.
But they did it last year. There's no reason why they can't receive their permit.
Okay.
And
Are they foiling the plan?
well,
Is it working?
last year, I guess it didn't. I guess it foiled the plan. I guess last year, they nothing happened. So that's good. But this year, it looks like with the presidential campaign behind it, it looks like the nativity will go forward, and that means that they'll have snakes as well.
Will there be like a free speech nativity zone?
Yeah, right.
Away from the cordoned off, from
set
the rest of the
aside.
thing?
I don't think so. But I mean, we haven't heard yet. But yeah,
Okay. All right. Well, awesome.
That's where we're looking. The Satanists are the only ones who apparently actually care about what church and state means. Did you see that our stupid senator Boren
Okay.
Hatch actually did he recently wrote an op-ed piece, I think in the Washington Times, that was like, wall of separation of church and state is not what that means, and we shouldn't have that, and that's not what. Yeah, maybe Thomas Jefferson wanted that, but that was a huge departure from what the rest of the founders wanted, and blah blah blah.
Oh my God.
And all I could think was, A, no, the rest of the founders really wanted this.
Yeah.
And B, also, why don't we just look at, forget about what the founders wanted. Let's look at what really works in actual society.
Right.
And what you don't want a non-separation of church and state. You just want Christianity installed.
Right. Enshrined.
You, sir, are what do they call the Muslim one? Sharia activist. He wants Christian Sharia law.
Doesn't make sense. But I know it does make sense, but it's a funny way to say it.
Well, how is
he wants
any...
the Bible enshrined as the law of the land?
How is that any different than the Sharia law?
Oh, there's no difference.
It's the same thing.
Well, I mean, it's also, just to continue on with that idea, did you see where people are now trying to use the term Christian terrorist, like for like the Planned Parenthood thing in Colorado?
Yeah,
trying to call that guy a Christian terrorist. It's a little deviation from your story,
but that's okay. But he is a Christian.
He is a Christian terrorist.
That's exactly what he is.
But the people who love to throw around Islamic terrorist are now getting all fucking butthurt,
bent out of shape
because people are calling him a Christian terrorist.
Right. Which is what he is.
Yeah, but they want to call him a domestic terrorist.
He is a man who, acting under the authority of his faith, is trying to use terror and trying to use fear to control how others behave.
Yeah.
That's called Christian terrorist.
Yeah. He's got crazy eyes too.
Oh yeah, that dude. That dude does not look right. Anyway, there you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments or questions or whatever, and if you want to contact us for any reason, we're here for you. We have an email address set up.
Yes, we do.
We are tech savvy.
Woo-hoo, yeah.
So write to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail message.
Yeah.
The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button.
Or also on Facebook, you can search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's nice.
And how?
Yeah, it's a good time.
Coming up, we'll just figure something out. Oh, no, we do have a thing.
Yeah.
I forgot that you had figured it. You had sorted out our audio.
All right, well, it's time for a quick break.
Yes.
Pat Robertson, of course.
Patty boy.
And this is him.
Oh, Patty boy. The pipes are calling.
Oh, that's lovely, Dan.
Thank you. I'm not a Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, the smooth vocal stylings of Daniel Beecher. This is a caller is very concerned about a relationship. It's actually a relationship question.
Indeed.
So let's just see how what sage advice Pat Robertson gives him.
Yep.
I am a Christian who is married to an unbeliever. My wife is opposed to our giving tithes to my local church and any other giving to charity. She feels we can't afford it. I'm the only member of the household who has a job, and we live in a community property state, so our assets are shared. My question is, should I be tithing on all of my paycheck or just my half of it?
Like it or not, you're the head of the household, and God has made you the high priest of the family. And you're a Christian, and what comes into your paycheck is yours. And I think the fact that you want to bless your family, the best way to do it would be to have his blessing on you. And he said, honor me with your tithes and offerings, and I'll open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing. So 100, all your tithe, you don't have to split it.
Oh.
You don't have to split it. That's
your money. You're the one going out and working. You're the head of the household.
Right.
You make that money. That is your money.
God made you the high priest of the family. So what is she? The high priestess? No. She can't do shit.
Make that non-believer submit to your will, sir.
You've got the money. She doesn't have it.
No. Community property.
I love that community property argument. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Of course, it doesn't really apply until, like, a divorce. More than anything. Like,
right.
Yeah. It's not like a man can sue his wife when she goes off on a spending spree or something. So, technically, yes, he could probably tithe, and there ain't shit she can do about it.
Right.
But, yeah, that's good advice. I'm glad that the misogyny is alive and well.
Over at CBN.
Over with the Patty boy. Okay. Well, we had some folks write into us and call into us.
Oh yeah.
And we're just gonna spend a little bit of time, and that's all we're gonna do for the rest of the show is just talk to you guys,
luxurious,
with you guys about feedback that you had for us. Maybe I'll start with an email. Should we just do that?
Yes.
All right. This is from R. Mark, who says, I work in a diverse and very inclusive corporate culture. It's only that way because the president's daughter happens to be gay. Otherwise, I think it would be pretty regressive, at least on LGBT issues. I work with a trans woman, and I'll say my reaction internally. I'm very good at projecting stoicism. The first time I had a meeting with her was as your caller described. I was taken aback. I guess I should have introduced this by reminding our listeners that we've been talking about trans issues, about transgender people, and about how to sort of wrap your mind around it if you don't know. And we had some callers last week who really struggle with the trans issue, and I think that's great. And we're still working on getting an interview going. We thought we had one lined up, but we'll get some interviews. We'll talk to some actual trans people on the show. But we had two callers dealing with trans and gay issues. So that's the background for this. Anyway, so our Mark says the first time I had a meeting with her was as your caller described. I was taken aback. After the initial shock of the difference subsided, every other interaction with her for me was judged on the competence of her job. She's pretty good at it, not exemplary, but good, as with most people I work with. I will say, since we are being honest, I've had a similar reaction to overt physical disabilities and other things not the norm in my experience. Not to equate transgender to a disability, only that I don't have anyone in my life that has, say, a lazy eye or a birth defect or is transgender. When I meet someone that does, my brain has to adjust to the new input. Once that initial shock factor wears off, it's no longer an issue. So there you go. I mean, I think that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, it's basically when anything that you don't have exposure to is going to feel almost, there's going to be a worry there.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how you're supposed to react. You don't know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I get that.
Huh.
Don't you think?
I'd never thought about lazy eyes. No, my dad has a sort of a fucked up eye. You know.
Yeah.
He's blind in one of his eyes, and as he's gotten older, it used to track okay with the other one. It was always a little off to the side,
Right.
And now it's just like off to the side. And you know,
You grew up with
I
it.
grew up with it,
Sure.
and so I've never thought about some of the tactics that one uses when talking to someone with only one functional eye.
Right. Yeah, there is that,
You know,
which
like-
one do I look into sort of moment.
There's that moment, and then yeah, instead of like going back and forth,
Right.
as I would do with someone with vision in both their eyes, yeah, you just look at the one eye.
Yeah. And then it gets, it just feels different. I think
can you tell that I'm only looking at one of your eyes, Dan, right now? Can you tell?
From this far away, probably not. If we were a little closer to each other, I think you can sort of
I
track.
don't want to be any closer to you, so that's fine.
Ew. Ew.
Did that come out?
You got a little gross there. A little snarkity.
Oh, Dan.
That's okay. I know you're just teasing.
Whatever.
Anyway, let's should we play a voicemail?
Let's do
one of those.
Hi, Dan and Frank. Sorry, it's Marie from Canada calling, and I just wanted to add on to your reply to the person who's feeling a bit uncomfortable with trans people, and the other one is feeling a bit comfortable with gay people. Sorry, my phone cut out for time I called. So your suggestion to kind of get involved with the community is an awesome one. I would just say, as someone who is involved with the LGBT community, I guess just a few things to be aware of when you are getting involved for the first time is just first let them know that where you're coming from. Let them know that maybe this is kind of your first time being involved. Maybe you come from an upbringing or a community that isn't as accepting, just so that if you kind of slip up or say something that they could take as offensive, they know you're coming from a good place and that you are open to learning and understanding, and that's why you're there. The other thing is just a little heads up about pronouns. If you're not involved in the LGBT community, you might not even understand what these are. So pronouns are they, them, it, she, her, him, anything we use to replace someone's name in a sentence. And this just really is how we ask people kind of their genders and say, what are your preferred pronouns? It's so much easier and respectful than kind of, are you a girl, are you a boy? That can be taken so many ways. It can be really confusing. Are you talking about their sex? Are you talking about their gender? What about people who don't identify with either of them or both? So if someone asks you this, it's not saying that you don't look like a guy or a girl. It's just that we're in a community where people don't necessarily look for one reason or another the identity they feel. So that's just a couple things. Just be respectful, treat them like anyone else. That said, I would love to see more kind of LGBTQ and atheist kind of collaborations. So I love that your show opens people up to being able to have those conversations that they might be uncomfortable about. So that said, I don't know if you guys have any suggestions, and thank you for having an awesome show.
You're welcome. We're happy to have an awesome show for you.
Well, and thank you, Marie, for that. I think that's great.
Yeah. All good advice. I think the big thing that we probably neglected to say that I'm glad that she brought up is let folks know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's okay to have the starting place that you have.
Yeah. And
As
to
long
be the
as you make it clear that like you're willing to learn and you're and that you're coming from a place of wanting to embrace humans and be nice rather. I mean, really, isn't that what we're talking about with all of this? Is like it feels like it's all scary and complicated, but the real thing is all you have to do is just like love people and be nice.
Just be a good person,
and
treat people with respect.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's no reason why any of this has to be any more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But it's cool to say, hey, here's where I'm coming from.
Right.
I was raised to hate you people, and I'm trying not to. But I might say some shit that I don't realize is bad.
Right.
Help me.
Right.
Or just for be you be nice back, because I think people will respond well to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff.
Let's see. Jesse wrote into us. I'm trying. Should I stick with the theme?
Let's. I would say let's work through the issue.
Okay, let me find
And
some
then
more.
move on
some
to
more
other issues.
The trans stuff. Okay. Oh well, no. This one was interesting. You had said, Frank, on the show when we were talking about being gay, that if you could choose whether to be gay or straight, you would choose to be gay.
Yes.
And that actually had a huge response. People, there was a lot of people on the members only lounge who were like really impressed by that moment. Let me just read what Ray had to say. Excuse me. Ray said, last week's podcast has engendered a conversation in the TGIA lounge on whether gay people would choose a different sexual orientation if they could. Not being gay, I have nothing directly relevant to add. However, that has not stopped me from jumping into this email. My eldest son is gay, so I have some indirect perspective to give. Derek was the product of a teenage pregnancy. His mother and I were never married. He was raised largely by his maternal grandmother in a household that has dominated by females. My wife, not Derek's mother, recognized Derek was gay when he was very young, 8-ish. We wondered if being raised in a domineering grandmother's household was a factor in determining his orientation, the old nature versus nurture discussion. When Derek came out of the closet, many people asked me how I was coping with it. My response was that when your child is born and you dream about your child's future, it is not something you hope for, not because of prejudice, but because life is tough enough. You tend to want your child to have as many advantages as possible, being part of a group that has traditionally or historically been mistreated and discriminated against offers little advantage. Now that Derek is grown, 31 years old, I realize that there are things that I would change about him, that I wish I could change about him. Who he loves is not one of them. I still want Derek to be successful in life, but I realize it is up to him to define what that means. I just wish he would. Yeah. He says, I just wish he would put down the phone long enough to enjoy what's going on around him. Oh, Ray. How to sound old in one sentence. Just put down the damn phone every now and then so we can have a... I know. Yeah. No, that's actually lovely, Ray. Thank you so much.
No, that's nice.
Yeah, I think...
so it really sparked something.
Yeah, I think that's not something that we hear a lot of. I think that the standard answer is supposed to be that, boy, if you could be straight, wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't it be life would be so much easier.
But you can't.
But life is tough.
Life is hard.
You're going to have something that sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
That you have to deal with, right?
We can't all be a Kardashian.
I mean, there are clearly things that, especially for a man of my generation, that maybe didn't go all that great with the coming out. Right? Because my parents still have problems.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, I'm just happy as who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just read this. TJ from Ohio wrote in and said, I'm a mostly straight cis male. Now, cis, kids, if we say the word cis, C-I-S, we are referring to someone who is who identifies with as the gender that they were assigned at birth.
Yes.
So if you were born with a PP instead of a hoo-hoo and you identify as male, then you are cis.
Okay.
Just wanted to clarify that. And yes, PP and hoo-hoo are the technical terms.
Yeah, good.
I'm a mostly straight cis male who is so liberal I make Gandhi look like a reactionary. I agree with your advice on educating yourself about trans issues as a way of overcoming the fear and, quote, freakiness reaction that many people seem to experience when dealing with any and all LGBTQ issues. I do have a few words that I used when discussing trans people with my own children that may help your callers. Not that we're connecting you with children. I don't think that that's what the caller is or what the writer is saying.
I don't think that. I would not have gone there.
We are conditioned by society, TJ writes, and to an extent by our genetics to think of humans in binary categories like black and white, male, female, gay, straight, and the biggest and worst, us and them. The problem with that is that humans aren't binary creatures. We exist on a spectrum. Humans are unique among all animals in that our evolution gives us the ability to recognize and express that fact. And our society has given us the tools we need to allow our physical appearance to match our mental image of self. Which doesn't necessarily mean surgery, but that's an option. He says, and this is what I really like, a benchmark of a free society is to guarantee its citizens the right to be themselves. We are lucky to live in a nation that does that fairly well, and that we live in a time that has the technology to allow people to express not just who they are, but who they want to be. No longer do we have to conform to a predetermined box, nor accept a life exiled from those inside the boxes by accident of birth. That is a noble thing that we should all embrace. I like that last note, especially the idea that, like, yeah, we should be celebrating this not because we understand it. You know, I don't need to celebrate LGBTQ, the existence of that, because I get it. Because
Right.
I don't get being attracted to someone of the same gender.
Right.
Because that's not something that I do.
Right.
But I get being a person.
Right.
And I get and I love the fact that people can just be different, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And we need to embrace that. That was a very thoughtful. What are you thinking about?
No, I was also on a side thought a little bit there,
Okay.
but no, like, yeah, that's nice. You should.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's been the theme.
I was really on a side thought, Dan. So when you finish your sentence, I was actually humming to my thing.
Okay. Well, what's your thing?
It's gone.
Okay, it's
fine.
gone now.
Yeah.
I get it. All right. Do we have another voicemail to play?
We do. Yeah.
Hi, Frank and Dan. This is Amy. I just wanted to thank you, Dan, for saying everything that I think about Christmas gift giving. I have such a hard time with it, but I love it at the same time. What we've kind of decided to do in our family, at least on my side of the family, not my in-laws, is we just kind of agree that we're all going to spend as little money as possible and not get offended that we might be getting thrift store gifts or homemade gifts, just kind of anything goes, and we do a lot of really jokey gifts. Like my dad, who thinks he's a Republican but isn't, I found a 50-cent giant Obama picture book at a library sale, and so I'm giving that to him this year. And one year my brother bought a bunch of Boo-Berry at Halloween time, saved it up, wrapped it for Christmas, and I got some Boo-Berry at Christmas time. So we like to do fun stuff like that, and that seems to be the way we're going to keep going. I absolutely hate gift cards. I feel like it's the ultimate cop-out in gift giving. But again, I just wanted to say thank you. I feel everything you're feeling about gifts, and your talk just resonated with me so much. So thanks, guys. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Well, thank you for calling.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Although I will disagree with you slightly
Okay.
about gift cards.
Okay.
They are
Let's
a
hear it.
complete cop out. I will agree. That's where I agree with you. But sometimes you need a cop out. Sometimes you need that damn little crutch.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't
I'm
know
copping
what to
out.
get this person. I really don't.
Yeah.
You know, they like Target, right?
Right. Everybody can find something at Target. Fuck it. I'm copping out. You just have to actually, I think you should be required to write a card that says, I'm copping out.
Yeah.
Here you go. I think that should be, I mean, I guess it's implied.
Yeah.
It's just implied. I do love the idea of, like, the gift giving being, I'm going to try and make you laugh. Not I'm going to give you
No,
something
that's awesome.
to treasure. Not I'm going to give you something to
The gift of laughter.
yeah.
That's
and
lovely.
for those of you international listeners, I'm not going to explain what Boo-Berry is. You're going to have to hit the internet for that. We had some other people write in about gift giving.
Huh?
Gift giving. I mean, I think I don't think we talk about this in polite society. This
We don't.
This gift giving
No.
thing. So I think we struck a bit of a chord. Gentlemen, this is Jesse who writes in. Your most recent podcast highlighted a perennial issue that my husband and I struggle with. He believes that the way to show love is to buy your family members all the stuff, whether or not they want it, whether or not they want it, fit into it, or will ever use it, or have room to store it. In his eyes, if we have $1 left in the bank on December 26th, Christmas was a failure.
Oh my God.
I, on the other hand, am a sensible, reasonable cheapskate who would prefer not to exchange gifts.
Oh my God.
We've been married 21 years.
Oh my
and
God.
after many fights on the issue, have learned to get through the holidays the only way that works for us. He goes to the mall and does all the shopping, and I look the other way and never ask for the total for his Christmas cheer. It's not ideal, but you do what you gotta do.
Oh my God.
In my husband's defense, he generally is a thoughtful giver and has surprised me on several occasions with touching one-of-a-kind items that require great advanced legwork on his part. I, on the other hand, once wrapped up our old ancient used cell phones for Christmas when his newer one broke. It was a practical thing to do since his contract was up in January, and there was no point in buying a new phone at full price when he could get a free one 3 weeks later. But I admit, it lacked romance. Yes, it did, Jesse. That is true. That was not the romantic gesture, for sure.
Thoughtful, though.
Yeah, I mean, useful.
Useful.
I don't know about, yeah.
Well,
I mean,
thoughtful.
I guess so. Anyway, yeah. This is the problem, man. Gifts are just an issue. I don't think I relayed what happens. I mean, I talked about sort of what happens with with Andrea's siblings every year for Christmas.
Yeah.
And you overheard a delightful conversation earlier, which was
I was shocked.
which was about us, like, because everybody in the family just tells everybody what they want.
Yeah.
And then what we said is, well, maybe we want this thing, and that's over the limit of how much how much gifts are allowed to cost, so we'll just make up the difference.
Yeah.
I think you didn't respond.
I was just like, what the fuck? That's not right.
It's not good gift giving practice. It's we in that family we don't practice great gift giving hygiene.
Yeah, I'll let them do whatever the fuck they want because there were too many rules in my house with the damned gifts.
Yeah.
And expectations, and you had to love it, and if you wanted to exchange something, you were ungrateful.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, you got me something that I can't even use.
Right.
I can't even fit this thing into my life. Or an item of clothing that, yes, you got the size right, but it is awful.
Right. And now, and is it not okay to exchange or to?
No, it was better to never wear it than to go and exchange
than
it.
to take it back. Okay. Well, there you go.
I learned that lesson.
I just wanted, it's funny because what I didn't relate was what happens with Andrea's grandmother, which is that she used to throw a Christmas party every year, and she has, she had like, is it 7 or 8 kids? So a lot of kids, tons of grandkids. Right. Not everybody showed up, but always enough showed up that it was, she lived in a condo, and so she would rent out she would get the common area, the big party room or whatever. And we'd all go there. And she had this thing that she loved to give gifts and whatever, but she loved to have a game. And there was always this game for the getting of the gifts, which a good percentage of, if she is Generation 1, a good percentage of Generation 2, especially the wives of the wives and husbands of Generation 2 would sort of bow out of the game because it was truly ridiculous. But anyone Generation 3 or below was expected to be a part of the game.
Okay.
The game was never the same every year. It was every year new rules. It was a different game. So so fun, right? So far so good.
Yeah.
She never really wanted to explain all of the rules. She would tell you most of the rules are like kind of the basic outline of how
a couple back.
I don't think she held it back on purpose, but she didn't really think through how this would work. She was not good with group dynamics, and we're talking 30 or 40 people playing this game.
Oh my God.
So for instance, one year she had us all write down a very weird random fact about ourselves.
Okay.
And the game was she's going to read it, and then we're all going to guess who it was. And whoever guesses right gets to go and get a gift.
Okay.
And she would read it, and of course, someone in the immediate family is going to be like, oh, that's my dad.
Right.
And then she would get really mad and be like, well, if you know, you're not allowed to guess. But then we don't know, like, you don't know your second cousin that well. Like, your cousin that lives in another state that you see once a year at grandma's Christmas party, you don't know well enough to know that they went on a trip to Madagascar once. You know, it's just like one of those things. So if you're not allowed to, if you're not allowed to guess if you know, then it's just like, was it Sam? No. Okay, was it Steve? No. And then we just, what do we go? Okay, was it Susan? No. Was it Joe? No. Was it Sarah? No. Was it, and we just go through everybody because, like, I don't know. It was the worst. It was always the worst. But the best part is that when you finally did get a present, like, holy shit, what are you doing? It was stuff from her pantry. So one year somebody got 2 boxes of mac and cheese. And then, like, the same year, like, that year I remember distinctly, I got a mechanical pencil. That was fine. It was nice and whatever. And then someone got an iPod out of the blue. Like, I don't even think Grandma knew what that was. I think that she just, like, well, I don't know what this is, but I'll just package it up. But yeah, somebody else got, like, a half-opened, like an opened package of individually wrapped chocolates that had been, like, half-eaten. They're individually wrapped. It's fine, but it's already half gone. Like, that's the kind of thing that happened. Anyway.
Oh, no.
But that was always hilarious to me. I never had an objection to that because it was the weirdest, funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
And last week, Andrea was talking about her grandfather who... Everybody got
this is Grandpa,
candy bar?
This is Grandpa on the other side.
Okay.
Who every year would have they have a get-together, and then he would get the same candy bar for all of the grandkids in the family, and then do a code so you had to figure out which one was yours.
But they were identical.
They were all identical. So at any time, we could have just said, open the one you've got. Oh, and they were wrapped. They were wrapped in Christmas wrapping paper.
Okay.
At any time, we could have just been like, I'll just hang on to the one I've got, and it would have been fine. We all would have gotten the same present.
Right.
But no, we had to crack the code and figure out whose is which.
It's actually adorable.
It's totally adorable.
But
it's
also
absurd.
crazy.
It's absurd but delightful. These are the kinds of things that I have no objection to because it's like it's just watching it that I enjoy.
Well, and you grew up in a much smaller sort of family setting.
Yeah.
And so the large family dynamics are probably pretty foreign.
They're lost on me. It's true. Melissa wrote into us from Washington State, not D.C. She said, she says, I have a similar experience to Frank and his family's bad Christmas.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That all the more proves the idea that gifts aren't exactly the best part of Christmas experience. I have a younger brother who is, to say the least, a piece of shit. That's not to say the least. That's probably to say quite a bit.
Yeah.
I feel. Anyway, she says, about 5 years ago, when we were still on speaking terms, I had gone to a lot of effort to think of a really good gift for him. A super fancy ice cream machine from Bed Bath & Beyond. Seeing as he is the world's biggest pothead and he loves ice cream, it seemed like a really amazing gift choice. Learning the hard way that including a gift receipt can offend the gift giver, he returned it within days to get the money to buy weed. I was pretty devastated.
That's so sad.
A year later, during Christmas, my brother and I are no longer talking to one another because of various reasons. And I have a small get-together for my mom and my husband for Christmas. My mom is disabled and jobless, so I basically told her not to buy us anything because she couldn't afford it. Going back to Frank's story, she still bought us stuff. But it was all thrift store garbage, like half-used candles and really old kitchen towels. Super depressing. But the icing on the cake was the gift that she tried to pass off as what my brother got me, as though he would be getting me a gift now after never giving any of us gifts for years. It was a kitty cat wind chime. Used, but still cute, since I love cats. I knew there was no way he ever could have picked that out, let alone paid for it. So because of the obsession with gift giving, that Christmas was just hammered home how messed up my family is and how I'll never have a nice, normal family holiday ever again. Now that you're depressed, thanks for all you do. Love the podcast. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think that I think the gift giving is tricky. It's just tricky.
There's just.
I think I'm gonna take I think I'm gonna take the advice of that one listener, and just I'm gonna go for humor from now on. I'm just going to try to make people laugh at Christmas time.
All right.
Because going for a thoughtful gift, you got a 50% chance that it'll mean nothing to them. And then you got like another 20% chance that it'll be sort of meaningful, but they already really have it, but they can't tell you that.
Right.
The chances of that working out, pretty slim.
Right.
I'm going to go for comedy.
Right.
From now on, it's comedy.
Yeah. Well, and then you always run the risk of like, you see that someone has like some collectibles.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's the worst.
And so you go out and you get something in the same vein.
Right.
And the person totally acts like, oh, thank you so much.
Oh, it's great.
But it just started out that they had 2 of that item, and everybody started picking up on, oh, they love roosters. I have a friend who he has so many ceramic roosters, or just like kitchen towels with roosters, or just anything with roosters.
It's
in
a
his
feedback
kitchen.
loop.
And he seriously just started like with 2.
I'm serious.
And
you guys,
then it just turned into this thing, and he's just like, I don't even really like them.
My mother-in-law has pigs. My ex-mother-in-law, sorry, my first mother-in-law. She always had pigs. She had like 2 pigs. She loved her 2 little pigs, and then it became everybody gave her pigs, and then it became the joke. Now we all get that you don't really want pigs anymore. Ha ha, pig. Rude. It just became this but it was funny. She thought it was funny, but eventually she was overrun with pigs.
Oh my God.
Let this be a warning to you.
Then
don't have more than one of a thing.
But then people who don't know, right, that this is a thing in this family, they come in and they're like, Jesus Christ, what's up with all the pigs? But they can't say anything.
Right, this person really likes pigs. That's weird. I'm going to read one more email.
Oh, okay.
This is on a totally different subject, but we have to address it.
Okay.
We had a lot. By the way, if your emails and voicemails don't make it on the show, please don't be offended. We simply do not have time for everybody, but we try to make get as much in as we can. Anyway, howdy, says Melissa. I had signed up to be a Patreon supporter, but noticed that there haven't been any posts there since October, and I wasn't charged anything. Yep. I switched to PayPal instead. I wasn't sure if the Patreon thing was glitched or intentionally missing, and I've been listening to older shows, starting with the first episode, and may have missed something mentioned, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Not blah, blah, blah you, Melissa. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Blah, blah, blah her?
Blah, blah, blah you.
Oh, boy.
She says, I love the show and especially appreciate hearing thoughts about ex-Mormons. As a child, I was forced to attend very dull and uneventful Methodist church. Although things perked up a bit for the better when the male minister was caught in a relationship with a male parishioner.
Oh, that would be interesting.
That was big news in rural, conservative, homophobic, redneck town where I grew up. Anyway, I'm glad you both found freedom, and you seem genuinely happy, which is wonderful. So thank you, Melissa, and she did become a monthly subscriber on PayPal.
Well, fantastic.
Which is still an option for everybody. Yeah. However, we need to explain what happened last month.
So here's the deal. I was the one who set up the Patreon account.
Right.
I went in, I pushed all the buttons, and blah, blah, blah. And when I went on my little break, I forgot to tell Dan that you have to go into Patreon and make a little post.
Right.
And so since that got handed off to Dan for the month of November, it didn't happen.
Right.
And our switch to Patreon had been so new that I just kind of didn't even think about, because I'm the one who takes the files home and posts them on the internet, and
right,
puts the show together and does all that kind of stuff after we record.
And the way that it works is that we go and we post to a syndication platform,
Right.
that sends it out to iTunes and all of the
Yeah.
different syndicated places. And that's all well and good. That's great. And I just thought everything was automated.
Yeah,
and
unfortunately, on
just didn't
Patreon,
know
it's
about
not.
Patreon. So those of you who are Patreon supporters, you saved yourself a bundle, a little bit of money, because we lost out.
Yeah, at the end of the month. So what they do in order to cut down on like credit card fees and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
They only charge a card at the end of the month.
Right.
So they kind of tally it up what you support on Patreon during the month, and then
they
just charge once,
Right.
so as to try to pass on the savings to us.
Right, and we're
so-
certainly not going to go back and like suddenly throw down
Oh, no, I'm
3
not
or
gonna-
4 episodes that
we
you
lost November.
Yeah.
That's just what happened. That's on us. We're not good at all of the podcasting things.
Yeah, we're mostly content creators, and
Yeah.
everything beyond that,
It just slips through the
we're
cracks.
just not good at it. So sorry. And sometimes we make promises, and then we don't keep them.
It
Yeah.
just fucking sucks. But anyway, we did have some new people sign up on Patreon, so I
Hooray.
do want to thank them.
Yes.
Their money will be, or their pledges will be to process this month,
Right.
along with everybody else who's signed up. We have Liz, Emily, Denzel, and Peter.
All right.
Are all new subscribers.
Thank you so much.
Or supporters, or whatever the right phrase for that is. And so thank you so much for signing up for that. And starting with this episode in the month of December, we'll
just be back to
we'll be back to
everything
business as usual.
Yes.
Switching platforms, there was a moment of,
a bit of confusion.
Joyride we had it set up as a monthly thing,
Right.
and we didn't have to do anything. They just sent the money to our PayPal account once a month.
We're still learning this, people. Sorry. By the way, I also need to thank Sean, who did a one-time donation through PayPal.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sean.
And, that's also always an option. If you don't want to be a subscriber, you can always go and just give us a one-time thing.
Yeah.
If you are a subscriber on Patreon and you're horrified that you missed a few episodes, you can go and make a payment there if you want to. That's also fine. Thank you to those of you who are subscribers. We super appreciate that.
Yeah,
it's so amazing.
it means a lot. And,
It does.
And it is incredibly helpful.
Yep.
So
And if you want to become a subscriber, you can do so by going to thankgodimatheist.com and clicking on the Patreon button on the side of the screen. That will get you through to our Patreon place. Help us reach our goals.
Yay!
And we'll be very grateful.
Yeah.
To you, as we are to these other people who have already done it. If you have anything you need to say to us, if you want to be part of this conversation, go ahead and write into us. Podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail message.
Woohoo!
The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Or also on Facebook, you can search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, so we'll have to let you in.
Yeah, you have to search it out, and then you have to request, and then
wait.
and then I let you in someday, if you're lucky. Thanks to Mackenzie for manning the helm over on the Facebook page. Boy, we just appreciate you a bundle.
And thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
Yeah, and thanks to you, dear, kind, friendly listener, for tuning in to us. We sure do appreciate it.
Bye-bye.